I am excited. I am here with my super shy Fanny Physio. Yes, this woman knows me. You know parts of me that my wife Alice hasn't even been to yet.
Yeah.
No one else knows, I tell you. So if you've been following me on socials, I've talked about the fact that it's about 6 or 8 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I had a prolapse. And my uterus decided to try and extend my body. And I really wanted, you've been an amazing help. I'm working with 2 different physios, and Sarah has been amazing. That women, so many women, that friends I've talked to who've been peeing themselves for years, not had anything done about it, have had prolapses of different kinds and stuff. And I went, I have to be loud about this. So I'm going to do a series of we're going to talk everything about fannies and prolapses with Sarah the physio, and we're also going to have a chat to the other physio I'm seeing for a different approach as well. So first up, Sarah, my super shy, she is so uncomfortable, but tell us, you're a Canadian chick, come on, tell us a bit about you.
And I'm shaking over here in the background.
I know, you'll be right, it's okay.
Yep, Canadian, definitely. Been in Australia for about 14 years. Haven't picked the accent up yet, although I seem to have picked up an Irish accent.
I don't know what you're doing at the moment.
I'm not really sure
she
where
doesn't
that came
anyway,
from.
she's that shy.
Yeah,
horrifically
so Jen's literally bribed me to do this.
I have. She has to. This is so important. Come on, tell us about it.
Yep. Yeah.
Why do you like physios, or how did you get an interest in physio? In not physio, but Fanny Physio.
Physio and Fanny Physio. So physio in general.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I was a runner in primary school. I had some hip pain, and I saw this really cool person who fixed my hip pain by showing me some stuff and teaching me some stuff. And that stuff.
And you went, when I grow up, I want to be one of them.
I want to fix people.
How did you progress to being Fanny's?
Fanny's came
I'm
out of nowhere.
the big out dyke. I'm sure I should be the Fanny Physio, but I'm not.
So I swear I was never, ever getting into any type of pelvic health, women's health, no interest. It's gross. Everything blows out, and there's, blood and stitches and tears. And
that's not my part.
Fantastic. And then you pee yourself for the rest of your life, and you have to live with it.
Oh, maybe I peed a bit.
But
anyway, what happened? I don't. She's already fixed my pee.
You don't have to.
So we're going to talk about peas. We're going to talk about it all.
So I had a baby, and I came out of it relatively unscathed compared to a lot of people, but I had a baby and nothing worked the same afterwards.
Right.
It was different. It was new. It was, what is this body? What's happening in it? And I just went, holy moly, that was rough on my body. And I started talking to other women who were going through things. And I just got a real interest in, coming from a sports and musculoskeletal background. I applied all of that to what I knew. That was very little about the pelvis. And I've been learning ever since for the last 8 years.
So with that, you raise a really good point that you had a baby and then had a prolapse. I am the big out there dyke, have not had children. Not that that's a thing, but you can be a dyke and a lesbian and have children and all that stuff. However, I'd never birthed. And so I had never mindfully done any kind of Kegel exercises or given any thought to supporting my pelvic floor, doing, gym work and lifting weights. And I just never imagined that this could happen to me. So this podcast is actually for whether you've birthed, not birthed, no matter your age, this is really important. So
it's a big thing. So everybody's got a pelvis.
Guys get pelvic floor prolapses as well. So all right, so we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down over a few podcasts. So hang in, and we're going to talk today about
which one are we
doing?
The
wee one.
Why do I sneeze? Why do I wheeze when I sneeze?
We're not yet. She wanted to name all the podcasts. Why do I wheeze when I sneeze?
I'm sorry, that's the Canadian sense.
So, Sarah, why do we wheeze when we sneeze? Because a lot of women wheeze when they sneeze, and they don't even realize they've had a prolapse or something. Where I just went straight to, that thing's falling out of me.
And whether it's something,
I had no peeing. I had no peeing first.
No, you didn't. And a lot of people have that even without prolapse. So
why do she's got a,
here's something
here's
I
something she
prepared
wanted.
earlier. This wasn't staged whatsoever.
Not at all.
Nope.
Okay.
Except
So if you are watching, you can watch the video version of this, or if you're on Spotify or something, or Apple, you're going to get, depending on your podcast platform, you may not be able to see the visual of this, but she's going to describe it all, aren't you, Sarah?
oh, in detail.
In great detail.
great
She's very good at
detail.
describing this. Go for it.
So the best way I can describe the pelvis
Yep.
is I'm interactive girl, I'm a see it, feel it girl. So if you take your hands and you put your hands on the front of your hips, or what we all think is our hips, and it's that bony bit.
Isn't that our hips?
That's the front of the pelvis.
Oh,
the hips are way down lower.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then if you walk your hands down to
we got the sockets.
yeah,
Wow.
that's down low.
Okay,
So
walk
if
it
you
down.
walk your hands down lower, that's the pubic symphysis. That's where the front of everything
Your
joins.
pubic bone.
Yeah,
You-
pubic
you-
bone. Oh yeah, here we go.
We're gonna, for those of you who can watch the video,
Yeah,
go to YouTube if you want to watch the video.
there you go. Front of your hips, and then you can walk down. That's the pubic.
So that's your hip
symphysis.
socket. So your hips really are all the way down
Yeah,
here.
they kind of sit like this
Wow.
in there. So they're way down there.
Yep.
So that's
And the
that's
pubic
pelvic
bone.
and pubic bone. And
Right.
I hear some people say, "Oh, I've got pubic symphysis problems," or it grinds when people are pregnant. And then if you walk around underneath, that's your ischial tuberosity. That's your sit bone. So
Your
if you
sitting bones.
put your hands under it, you can feel that knobbly, you know,
That's
people
our
have
sitting
bony
bones.
butts. Yep,
Yep.
sit bones. And then at the back, we've got the sacrum. So that's sort of that up above the tailbone portion.
It's one I
That's
prepared earlier.
this guy, there's one we prepared earlier.
Yeah.
That's the pelvis in a nutshell. And
Right. That holds all those bits in, and up in here is our internal
all
organs.
the good stuff.
Ooh.
So that's where the intestines and the bladder, which I don't have, and the uterus and the rectum, it's all in there.
Yeah.
And the only thing holding all of that stuff from falling out the bottom is your poor little pelvic floor.
Which I thought, before I met you, I thought your pelvic floor literally was something that sat up here, visually up high.
Oh, yeah.
I really did. I
Yeah,
thought it was like a
that's
hammock and everything sat on top of it. I had no idea that your pelvic floor is these three muscles that wrap around everything.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we had three. Now I can actually isolate all three. I can, as I was sitting here talking to you, I go,
You can't see what she's
I can. I know all three.
There's a
I've
whole
learned.
bunch in there.
There,
There's a
okay.
whole bunch.
Tell us about the main
But-
three, or tell us what you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, definitely. Well, some of the biggest guys that
Yes.
you need to worry about for that control
Yep.
is there's pubovaginals, which goes around the front.
Yep.
Puborectalis and pubococcygeus. And those sort of our big bowl lifters. They're our big holders that help hold everything.
Yep.
And those guys often, if you are having kids and in childbirth, they get stretched to kingdom come, because
Yeah.
you think what size that hole usually is.
And yes, and a baby's head comes out of that thing.
And it's not even just
Oh.
the head, it's then the shoulders and everything else with it. And it's like a footballer, like
That's why I
did.
didn't, I didn't have a baby for a reason.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think I
I'm
you know,
scared.
I had two, and I think maybe you were ahead of the game.
Yeah,
I
that's all right.
have-
I'll just play with the uterus while you keep going. Okay, so
all right.
if we're going to talk about WEES,
Yes.
what's happened for a woman to be
Yeah.
peeing
So
when they sneeze?
that pelvic floor can do a couple of things. It can either be loose and floppy, where it's not working well enough. You know,
Right.
like the back of your tuck shop lady arms when you
Oh,
after
yeah.
40 and you
Yeah.
get a little loose and floppy. Happens to the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
Pelvic floor is similar, so we need to build up the strength. The other thing that you can have is overactive.
That was me.
Where
Mine was too
it's
tight.
too tight,
Too tight.
overactive. It doesn't know how to chill out and relax. And so then if you're up there and you go to wee, there's nowhere else for it to squeeze. There's
Yeah.
nowhere else for it to
Mm.
help hold. And so that's a hard one too.
Yeah.
So it can be a couple of things. I think
How would it be showing up in when they pee? So are they kind of pee dribbling? Are they peeing and then they stand up and then they need to pee again? They don't not getting it all out in one pee. And
Yeah.
I count my pees now. Yes, I do. I try to pee around 15 seconds, a good
Yeah.
strong flow.
that's
I
nice.
do so many fun things now.
so much things you never thought you'd do.
Yeah.
Yep. So definitely what I hear from a lot of people when they've got an overactive or tight pelvic floor is
Yes.
they know they need to go, and they sit down and nothing comes out, and they can feel that kind of front of tummy bladder bursting, ready to go, but nothing comes out, and they almost have to push to get it started.
Right.
The other thing is the stop, start, or the little bit comes out, then you got to stand up, reset, sit down, a little bit more comes out.
Right.
So we want a nice steady stream, start to finish, full empty. About 15 seconds is a good time for a grown mammal.
15 seconds. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you think about it for a moment, because I've met so many of my dear friends who have had peeing, whether they've had kids or not had kids. Some from one woman, one of my surfing mates, she's had 3 prolapses, once from birthing and 2 from sport.
Oh, yeah.
She's a sporty girl. And so if you're peeing, maybe it's time to see a Fanny physio. By the way, there are physios that specialize in fannies. If you're North American, not that Fanny.
No.
So Aussies and English people, Fanny is our Fanny. There you go.
Yep.
English, they call a butt a Fanny. Not Fanny, North Americans call
Bum bags.
Yeah,
Fanny
a
packs.
bum, a fanny. Anyway, so we don't. So anyway, it's your vaginal bits, your girly bits. That's what we're talking about. So yeah, there's physios, and in America, because I've got a lot of American listeners and Canadian.
Physical therapists.
They call them physical therapists. We call physios because we shorten everything.
Yep, absolutely. For your American friends too, there are in-network and out-of-network and a whole different set of people that do, because they have a whole different insurance scheme.
They do. Right, but they can find Fanny physios.
You can find your Fanny physio, whether you're in or out, it does not matter.
Right.
That goes in more way than one, doesn't it?
It does. She's a funny chick, this one. She keeps me amused as she does interesting things to my body.
Okay. So here's Jen. Jen's sitting. Jen has to have a big sneeze. There's something tickling in her nose.
Yeah.
And what happens? Jen's diaphragm, which sits up here, does a big boom to get the sneeze.
Right.
And her abs do a big boom to get the sneeze. And that poor little pelvic floor that's already holding up all the internal stuff against gravity isn't quite strong enough. And boom, everything goes down.
Yep.
And it bottoms out in a sense. And we have a little bit of leakage, or we have an almighty leakage.
Yep.
And that's stress incontinence.
That's stress incontinence.
That's stress incontinence.
Righto.
So those are the people. My favorite question. I asked about 4 people that today.
Yep.
If I got you to drink a triple shot of coffee,
yeah,
we drink coffee.
You do in North America.
A lot of coffee.
Yeah.
But if you had a triple shot
The
coffee,
naturopath in me wants to slap her right now and say, "Drink water."
I'm helping Jen first.
Yeah,
later.
later.
So give and take.
That's okay.
Yep. So if you had a big triple shot coffee and I said to you, I want to wait till your bladder's full and I want you to go bounce on the trampoline with the kids.
They'd be too
I can
weird.
tell by people's faces if they're going to have a problem or not. They go, ooh, or they'll go, okay. Or the ones that go, no, I'd be fine. I did that last weekend.
Well, that's interesting because like me, and it's not the front part that I didn't have stress incontinence, but I was still using my lymphocytes up every day leading up to when I did a massive cough one day, which is how mine prolapsed.
Yeah.
Or how I noticed my prolapse.
Yes.
Because we know now it had been obviously sneaking there for a while and I just didn't have noticed it. We suspect.
Yeah. And it's definitely a higher risk post-baby. Birthing, because the stretch that we have to the pelvic floor and carrying in pregnancy, even if it's not a vaginal delivery,
well, you've got a baby pushing on the back of your bladder and all your pelvic floor.
Yeah, huge. A lot of extra weight.
Yeah.
And the other thing is postmenopause, because for anybody listening, whoever has gone through menopause, the muscles and the tone and the strength just aren't the same unless you're really working at it. And you work at everything else because you see everything else.
Yeah.
You know, you start to get that muffin top creeping in and the tuck shop lady arms and the et cetera.
She cracks me up.
And you see it and you work on it. You don't see the pelvic floor.
Yeah, no, you don't.
And you don't know it's a problem.
And you don't.
It's a problem.
Well, same. You don't realize that there's a natural atrophy that happens as we decrease our estrogen production, which is what our body's meant to do.
Yeah.
That it's a natural thing that kind of happens, and just what will be results in a month or so's time. I'll do a podcast because I'm running a study on my body at the moment. playing with marine collagen to see if I can bring some plumpness. Is that the word for it?
Yeah.
Yep. If I can bring some plumpness back to do a natural version of the estrogen to help my pelvic floor. Yes, we're using me as a case study. That's another study. I won't show you the before and I will not show the before and after photos, but I promise the before photos have been taken. Yes, they have.
Yeah.
All right, what do we need to tell them? What do they need to do about the pee and if they're sneezing?
Yeah, so if you're wheezing when you're sneezing, one of the biggest things is, if I have a big take-home message, is see a pelvic health physio.
Yeah.
Regular physios are awesome. I used to be one. I still do all that. That is so important, but see somebody who can actually properly assess your pelvis, your pelvic floor muscles. That can be a lot of different ways. That can be biofeedback, that can be pressure, that can be talking, that can be looking, that can be internal assessment.
Yeah.
Which is not.
Well, that's the thing. So you will have a very, I've been to gynos a million years ago. You will have a very different internal examination with a physio.
Yeah.
A very thorough.
Sarah had places you didn't know you had.
Sarah knows everything about me. And it was so good. So good. I can say that now. At the moment, at the initial, I was like, the what? You're gonna what?
You want me to?
However, it was, the science and naturopath brain in me that was so good, thorough. And I've been to two different physios, two Fanny physios, and they've both done basically the same exam. So it's a set thing and it's really cool and it will just tell so much about what's going on. So don't worry, shame and all those things, don't even worry about that stuff because they make you feel so comfortable. Yeah, I keep saying these girls do not get paid enough money because it is a very specialized field. I'm dead serious. Yeah, it's very cool.
We get paid in the gratitude for when we help people live
that we don't peeing. Yeah.
You know what, you joke about that, but I've literally had people who I had a girlfriend of mine wore black pants or shorts for 4 years after having a baby. She couldn't even feel when she was wetting herself. And she was petrified. She was going to be out for dinner with her husband.
It's real.
And stand up from the table and find out when it hit her leg. Like she didn't know. And that's a game changer. That makes you stop doing the things you love. So biggest take home is you don't have to stop doing the things you love. Don't let your bladder and your wheeze control you.
Yeah.
You learn how to control it. And there are people everywhere, all over the world that can help you do that.
Yeah. So what are the biggest incidences that kind of aggravate? So, like I know now, I hadn't been doing pelvic floor. I also know if you're carrying extra weight, that's more pressure. We've had very intimate conversations about our poo, but being the naturopath in me, that's big for me because poo is really important.
It's huge. That's a big
constipation will aggravate, exacerbate pelvic floor. Can cause pelvic floor prolapse. So you want to, I've done so many podcasts on poo. Go back and listen to them because they're really important.
Squatty potties,
I have done, I've done about squatty potties, and I've personally used squatty potties or a stool for over 30 years.
That's the big thing. If you have a happy, healthy poo and a nice schedule, then you're not going to get those, those rock hard baseballs coming out. Because from my side of things, on this pelvis, I don't know how you can see with the light, but deep in there, that's actually rectum. So everything goes through that. And you can imagine if that poor little guy has like a baseball in there. And then it's got to push through that pelvic floor. And it has to get through. And it's not
because the pelvic floor wraps around your anus as well.
So part goes around vagina, part goes around anus, and part is that nice big bowl that helps hold everything up. We've got a couple other little guys as well, sphincters, that we need to help with control. But one of the biggest things is positioning, which I'm sure you've gone over, and the potties, and not letting yourself get constipated and not pushing down.
Absolutely.
That pushing down, which brings us sort of back around to the whole gym and the gym thing. I
was pushing. I was doing. I'd hold my abs tight, but was not pulling my pelvic floor up. And that screwed me up big time.
It's a big cylinder. So we've got the diaphragm at the top.
Yeah.
And then the pelvic floor is actually the bottom of that diaphragm, and they work together with your breathing.
Right.
And then you've got the core, so the abs and the back muscles around it. And we love to work our core.
Yeah.
It's great to protect the back.
Yes.
The problem is when we work the core really, really hard, but there's nothing happening below.
The
we're in
points of
trouble.
pressure.
It's too much pressure. Yep. So I love getting people to figure out how to work their pelvic floor and work their core, and then we work them together.
Come on, you got to teach them a little bit. Come on.
Okay. Would
Come
you
on.
like it?
Yeah, we're going to teach you a little bit.
I do it at home.
Yes.
I love to do it at home.
Here's a do it at home. You got to go to the YouTube channel to check this, guys.
Yeah.
If find me on YouTube.
I'm only so good at verbal.
Yeah, because some of you might need it.
That's a whole other.
Or I'll also create. I'll do a clip. I will do a clip out of this part of the reel. I will make a reel out of this part.
Yep.
As well.
All right. So
share it with all your girlfriends. It's important.
Get your fingertips and you find those sit bones.
Oh, you made me do that when my first appointment. You made me do this.
And you get your fingertips just inside the sit bone. So you can do it on one side or both sides.
Yep.
Depends how long your arms are.
Yep.
Now, what I want you to think is I want you to try to lift your pelvic floor so that had a few good visualizations.
Yeah, come on, do it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So if you squeeze the front hole and the back hole together and try to suck them up towards your belly button.
Yep.
So that's a goodie.
Might get that one.
If you're going, oh, I'm not sure if I've learned blueberries for so many people. Imagine you're picking up a blueberry with your not use one. See if you
get a funny thing. All right. So you're pulling up your pee hole and your poo hole.
Yep. So
drawing them up.
Drawing
okay,
up,
that's the visual.
in. Yeah.
Do that. Yeah.
Or if the blueberry works better for you, you're using your lips.
Yep.
Down low, and you're scooping
the lips of your vulva.
Yes.
To pull up a blueberry.
Okay. Yep. So those are two great tips.
Okay.
Now, what you can do without the hands underneath you is you can sit nice and flat in what we're calling neutral position. So a nice upright position. And I want you to think about leaning forwards just a little smidge so that front bit, that clitoral bit is down on the ground of the chair. And I want you to try and imagine you're going to lift that away from the chair. It's getting fancy.
I can do that one.
Yeah.
I can do the front one better than the back one I've learned.
Yeah.
I'm working my back one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's anterior pelvic floor.
Right.
And then we're going to rock back over those bones, back onto the bottom bit a little bit, also to the tailbone, and we're going to squeeze the bottom like we're in a private company. We get past wind, but we cannot let that wind go. Yeah. So back soften often, except for you. Anomaly.
Yeah, strong front.
Yeah. So back soften easier for people to cue, easier for them to squeeze. The beauty of those kind of three main pelvic floor guys is there's three of them that working together called the levator ani. And if we get squeeze of the back passage, we're still getting benefit to the front, even though it's more so back. If you can separate them out, fantastic. But if you can only get one, get your
bum hole. Pull your bum hole up, ladies.
The bum hole.
And guys.
Yep.
Pull them up, guys. Prolapse as well.
Okay. So
that's a huge cool tip.
So nice way to feel what you're doing because you're on the chair. Yeah. You can actually feel what's happening, whether you're doing it or not.
Well, you taught me that in the very first consult, and before you did the internal. And it was great because it helped me. I'm a visual, so it helped me visualize what I needed to do. Because I realized, when it first happened, and it took me a couple of weeks to get an appointment with you.
Sorry about that.
Anyway,
there's a lot of pelvises to see.
There are. I Googled Kegels and things, and the explanations that people were saying to do them, I realized I was not doing my Kegels properly. And because my pelvic floor was tight, which Sarah discovered in doing an internal, and you described it so well. Like if you've got a tight shoulder muscle, okay, and you're trying to exercise it, you can't. It has to relax before you can strengthen it. Yeah. So I had a tight pelvic floor, and I'm doing Kegels 10 to the dozen,
propagating,
making it worse, making it worse. So if you've got any peeing when you sneeze, go and see a Fanny Physio and find out why.
Yeah.
Which you know, they will. That's their specialty.
Yeah.
And because that's a big difference. I was pumping out Kegels, and I did real saying, do your Kegels, do your Kegels. I needed to relax my pelvis before I could, pelvic floor, before I could even think about doing Kegels.
I think that's a big thing about actually getting a proper assessment done, is because you don't know if it's too tight, and doing those squeeze, you're going to make yourself worse, not worse, but propagate it.
Yeah.
Or if it's loose and then you do need the strength, but then are you doing it properly? Because that's another big thing that people say to me, oh, I don't know if I'm doing it right. And then we'll actually check, and they'll go, am I squeezing? And I go, no. Nope.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Well, you might be able to squeeze hard, and then it just literally can't relax, which is my thing. I've got all the strength, but I can't relax it fast enough. It doesn't just relax and let go. So I'm working on all that. That's part of my treatment protocol.
You just have to learn to let it go.
Oh, stop it.
Let it go. That's really fun when I start singing that in the middle of an internal pelvic exam to people, and they go, oh, yeah, okay.
Remind me again why I pay you to do the things you do to me.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, so this is part one. So you've learned something on how to identify and what to do, and go and see a Fanny Physio if you need. And we will be back. The next podcast is going to be part two, which was
I gotta go. I went.
Yes. Okay, we're going to talk about that. And then we'll talk about, once we've laid the groundwork and not freaked you all out totally, we're actually going to talk about the kind of treatments that Sarah's been doing on me. Yes, which is called She Puts Needles What? So hang out for that one too. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is incredibly important work. I never realized it was so important until it happened to me. And if this shit can happen to me, and I'm so aware of health, it can happen to everyone. So that's why I'm so passionate to make this change.
And thank you to you for telling the masses, because you know me,
that my Fanny dropped out.
My little,
you
my little cubby hole, and tell one little person at a time. But people do really need to know. They can do something.
Well, thank you for getting it outside your comfort zone and doing this with me. I appreciate it. All right, we're out of here. See you guys.